Hello, my name is Uzo Akpele, an immigration lawyer in Atlanta, Georgia, helping people navigate U.S. immigration law no matter where they're located, inside the U.S., outside the U.S. In this video, I'll talk to you about Temporary Protected Status, TPS. TPS is humanitarian status given by the U.S. to non-citizens who are living in the U.S. but cannot be sent back to their country of last residence or their home country because that country is experiencing upheaval. Some kind of serious upheaval could be in the form of war with the instability that it brings, or sometimes extreme natural disaster. So when the U.S. grants you TPS, it's for a particular time, usually about 18 months. It can be renewed, and it's usually renewed by the government until a time when it is sure that the problem in the country is over. So during the TPS designation, the U.S. government will not initiate removal proceedings against non-citizens of that country who are living in the U.S. without status. That is to say, they will not put them in removal proceedings so long as you not apply. So citizens of the country who are in the U.S. of a particular date are granted TPS. That means the U.S. will mark off a date. If you're in the U.S. up till so and so date, you could be considered for TPS. When somebody is granted TPS, they are allowed to live and work in the U.S. during the TPS designation period. And they may also travel out of the U.S. and return if they first obtain permission from immigration to travel. And the interesting thing about the TPS parole to travel, permission to travel, is that it could possibly cure your inadmissibility. So let's say, for instance, someone came into the U.S. And overstayed, and then their country gets TPS status. That person could possibly travel and come back paroled in, and they won't have an overstay problem anymore. However, that's a little nuance, and if you called our office and we're discussing your case, we could figure if that could work in your case. It doesn't work for everybody, but you tell us your case, I can explain what will happen in that case. So how does one qualify to become, to be granted TPS? You apply. First, you apply for TPS. You show your evidence that you're a citizen of that country or that you last resided habitually in that country. You also show that you were in the U.S. within the date that TPS was granted to the cutoff. You were already in the U.S. by the cutoff date. You should also meet some of the inadmissibility problems. For instance, if there's people who've committed certain crimes, they will not be granted TPS. However, in a lot of the cases too, you could be given a waiver. You could obtain a waiver, and if you have the waiver, you'll be able to add it to your TPS application and hope to be approved for TPS. So what countries are currently who have a TPS designation? Quite a bunch of them. Those countries are Afghanistan, Afghanistan, Myanmar, Sudan, South Sudan, Somalia, Cameroon, Ethiopia, El Salvador, Haiti, Honduras, Nepal, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Ukraine, Syria, and Yemen. So those countries currently have a TPS designation, although each country is given their TPS designation and has its own terms. So if you called our office, we could tell you whether you qualify and the designation date and the expiration dates. Normally, you should register when the USCIS opens up a TPS designation. You have to register within a particular time frame, usually 60 days. If you are out of the 60 days, sometimes you can do a late registration, and you explain to immigration what happened, how come you are not able to file on time, and if they accept your your application, your explanation. They'll process your application regularly. Again, when TPS, at the end of 18 months, you have to continue. You don't register once. You have to renew your registration at the end of every registration period. For those who didn't register initially when the country was initially designated for TPS, anytime the country is redesignated, you may apply for TPS as if for the first time. It's not that difficult, although it may sound, as always, when you're describing immigration law, it may sound a little confusing. So, if you're from any of those countries, you have the names scrolling down, give us a call. We'll be able to assist you, determine if you are eligible for TPS, and we can prepare that application for you, and you'll be able to live and work in the US during the TPS designation without fear of being removed if you don't have any status. So that's it for today on TPS. Give us a call. We're waiting to assist you.